looking for escapism, I just want to escape.
Welcome back to my disembodied voice. When Russell T Davies brought Doctor Who back in 2005, he stated that, more than anything else, he wanted to bring classic villains back and make them scary again. He saw the world of American TV and their TV shows and knew Doctor Who couldn't be the spray-painted cereal boxes for jetpacks ever again. The most iconic villain in Doctor Who is the Daleks. There from the inception in 1963, these pepper-pot Nazi monsters have been exterminating their way around the galaxy for decades. However, by the 80s, the Daleks were a bit of a joke. They looked cheap, were easily beaten, and had been spoofed relentlessly, including the gay Daleks from a comedy sketch show. The Daleks were the butt of all jokes. You just need a stairs to beat one. What's scary about an egg whisk and a toilet plunger for weapons? The voice is so stupid, were some of the many calls from fans and critics alike. So Russell T Davies needed to make these villains both relevant and scary again, and he needed to completely rewrite the image of these brilliant creatures so they were credible and, more importantly, able to capture the imagination of a new era of Doctor Who fans. So, first things first, a bit of Dalek history. The Daleks came from a race called the Khaleds. No, not him, that's DJ Khaled, but they were still humanoid nonetheless. They lived alongside the Thals and, after a relentless war, the Khaleds were mutating, so Davros engineered them into the Daleks and they were placed inside metal tank machines and every emotion but hate was removed. There is a lot more to that story and there have been changes made over the history of Doctor Who canon, but, in essence, the Khaled and Thal war led to the creation of the Daleks. Throughout time, the Daleks' only motive was to destroy everything that wasn't Dalek, to ethnically cleanse the universe and leave only the superior race alive. They fought the Doctor time and time again and, ultimately, were beaten so convincingly that, in Sylvester McCoy's Remembrance of the Daleks, something called the Hand of Omega was used to virtually wipe them out completely. Anyway, back to 2005 and Christopher Eccleston is the Doctor. Russell T Davies and the BBC are locked within negotiations with Terry Nation's estate. Terry Nation, of course, created the Daleks, and only an 11th hour twist saw them return to the screen. The first episode they reappeared in, well, a singular one, was called fittingly Dalek, and then they reappeared en masse in the episodes Bad Wolf and The Parting of the Ways. I'm going to focus on just these 3 episodes alone for this video, as this was the series which revived Doctor Who and gave us the Daleks in their most fearsomely brilliant form. And I'm going to list 6 rules on how to make a successful antagonist. Then, in part 2, we will keep these same 6 rules and see what went wrong with the Daleks and how they returned to being a running joke of a monster. So, what makes a great antagonist? Why are villains like the Joker, the Predator, Hans Gruber, Darth Vader, and so many more in TV and cinema so memorable, and how does this relate to the Daleks' revival in 2005? I'm not going to talk about how they look, as we all know what a Dalek looks like, and apart from changing the size, sharpening the edges, and making some few moderations, the Dalek design has remained the same. Also, as the wonderful Joe Ahern directed the Dalek episodes, I want to acknowledge his directing technique but not bring it into the rules. For Joe, he wanted the Dalek to dominate the frame, be expressive and have a face. Now this is tricky as it's basically a stick on a domed head, but by keeping the eye in the centre of the frame, focusing on the eerie glow and switching between the Doctor and the Dalek in close-ups, he created an intensity and intimacy which is yet to be bettered. Anyway, back to our rules. So our 6 rules of a great antagonist are: number 1, are they interesting? Number 2, do they tie in thematically with your protagonist? Number 3, when they show up on screen, do they completely derail your hero's plans? Number 4, how often do they succeed in their goals? Number 5, are they more powerful than your protagonist? Number 6, does their ideology conflict with that of the protagonist? So, number 1, are they interesting? Well, yes, the Daleks have always been, but what Russell T Davies did was make them crucial to the Doctor's emotions. In the early part of the series, the Doctor hints at a great war. He states his people are all dead. It's later revealed in the episode Dalek that it was something called the Time War, and it was the final battle between the Daleks and the Time Lords. During the altercation with the prisoner Dalek, we learn that it was the Doctor who did something which killed all Daleks and Time Lords alike. So, we have one Dalek and one Time Lord, both standing opposite each other and both realising they are alone. They are both aimless and lost, but where the Doctor has Rose Tyler, the Dalek can only follow its objective and kill. In the series finale, we learn the Daleks have rebuilt a hybrid army, and this has been going on for years. They've been hiding for centuries and are ready to reign again. Straight away, we are compelled. The Daleks are the reason the Doctor is alone and tortured, and the Doctor is the reason the Daleks are dead or rebuilding in a tiny pocket in the universe. The hatred is mutual, but so is the respect of what both are capable of. We have an antagonist who inspires interest, mystery, and conflict. Number 2. Do they tie in thematically with the protagonist? Yes, the Daleks want to kill everything, and the Doctor, he wants to save people, but he has killed everyone. That's the whole point of the Time War. He was left with no choice. Both the Daleks and the Doctor are time-travelling aliens and have clashed many times before. This is a sci-fi show about time travel, and the Daleks are the biggest threat in the universe. In the 2005 series, the Doctor is trying to find himself, come to terms with what he did, and rebuild his life, and the Daleks are the same. They are both damaged and demented from a war which cost them everything. In the episode Dalek, the Doctor and the Dalek discuss who they are in a fantastic face-off. The Doctor ends up screaming, "Why don't you just die?" And the Dalek merely stands there and just states, "You would make a good Dalek." Emotively, thematically, and psychologically, these two are both intertwined. Number 3. When they show up, do they derail the hero's plans? In the episode Dalek, the Doctor is answering a distress call. He is cocky, arrogant, and then, when put in a room alone with the Dalek, he is grabbing the door and begging for his life. All the arrogance and wit is gone, and, once the PTSD of seeing it calms and the realisation that its gun is not working hits home, the Doctor and the Dalek have a fantastic confrontation which is just pure hatred. The Doctor's cool is lost and his true self is emerging. The man who was rebuilding himself through Rose Tyler reverts back to the monster who committed genocide. In the series finale, the Doctor discovers that the Daleks are back and have been hiding and, having realised that Rose was transmatted and not exterminated, is smiling with Captain Jack until he sees a fleet of very familiar ships. Frozen, frightened, and furious that they survived, he sits stunned. That's the power of the Daleks, and, even when he regains his composure and rescues Rose, he's still a broken man. Watch the episode again. Look back at the scene in the TARDIS after meeting the Emperor. He just leans into the door as 100,000 Daleks scream, "Exterminate!" He is mentally broken, dissociated from reality, and back in flashbacks of the Time War. The Daleks don't just upset him, they devastate him. Number 4. How often do they succeed in their goals? In the episode Dalek, the Dalek wipes out the base and is on top all of the way. Only because it's infected with Rose's humanity does it destroy itself. It completely succeeds as, by the end, it's the Doctor pointing the gun, not the Dalek. In the series finale, the Doctor admits he just cannot kill half of planet Earth with the Delta Wave and accepts its extermination. Again, Rose saves the day, but each time the Doctor doesn't just wink, smile and win. The Daleks dominate him, and victory comes at a great cost. For the series finale, it's regeneration. In all the episodes of Season 1 they appear in, the Daleks slaughter and ascend, and the Doctor doesn't really have an answer. But for Rose touching the Dalek in the mid-season and then absorbing the time vortex, the Daleks would have killed the Doctor convincingly. Number 5. Are they more powerful than the protagonist? Yes. In Dalek, the Doctor panics and begs to be saved when trapped in the cage with the Dalek. And he doesn't face the Dalek until the end, until he has a gun. When alone with the Dalek, he sees its exterminating gun and it terrifies him. He's seen what it's done and how many it has killed. He doesn't have a weapon at that point and, but for the Dalek's weapon not working, he would have been exterminated. When the Dalek repairs itself, he doesn't dare face it alone for fear of being exterminated. In the series finale, he uses a force field and he knows that they would just kill him in a heartbeat if he didn't have it. His only weapon is his brain and knowing how to build a delta wave to destroy them. He has to lock the Daleks out of Satellite 5 and slow them down until he finishes his work. The Daleks have the upper hand psychologically and physically. He's terrified of them and this bleeds through the screen. The Daleks haunt him and destroy him emotionally each time he sees them and, aware of what they can do, and will do, he keeps his distance and less inside a shield. Russell T Davies had already addressed the concerns about stairs in a deliberate scene which both rewrote and poked fun at the notion, although fans will remember a flying Dalek in Sylvester McCoy's episodes of Remembrance of the Daleks. And it's also shown how its rather ridiculous toilet plunger could be a lethal weapon. Add to that a force field and a rotating gun turret, and it wiped away many of the jokes that would have remained. By addressing these perceived faults, we can see why the Doctor was so scared. The Dalek is made into an all-powerful, all-encompassing, completely dominating antagonist. Does their ideology conflict with that of the protagonist? Yes. The Doctor wants to heal the universe, and the Daleks want to destroy it. In their meeting in the mid-season episode, the Doctor tries to reason with the Dalek and asks why it has to carry on killing everyone. But when the Dalek responds it has to follow the primary imperative of the Daleks, the Doctor says, "Your orders are never coming." When the Dalek then says, "Well, what do I do?" the Doctor just says, "Why don't you just die?" The Doctor has no future, but he has purpose. He has Rose. All his friends and family are dead, but that purpose keeps him going on. The Dalek is in the same position, completely alone, but with no purpose. All it can do is follow the imperative to kill, kill, kill. In the series finale, the Doctor rationalises killing half of planet Earth because even one Dalek is too many. Despite his dark side, the Doctor tries to help people, but when it comes to the Dalek, there is no such emotion, so to rid the universe of their filth, he would kill as many as he had to. Of course, in the final scenes, he can't go through with it and accepts his extermination. This is where Rose steps in, and again, but for Rose, the Daleks would have won. The Daleks will never stop. They are a disease and will keep spreading, and so the Doctor's ideology is to stop them at all costs to himself. The Daleks will destroy him regardless of the cost to everything else. The Doctor has Rose Tyler in love, the Daleks just have hatred. In the end of Dalek, the Dalek begs Rose to order its destruction as it cannot face having empathy and the humanity she has given it. For the Doctor, he is the opposite. He's actively seeking Rose's humanity and seeking empathy and connection with others. So, now we can see what made the Daleks so great and why they gained such reverence again. After Series 1, repetition and overusage caused things to go wrong, and, using the same 6 rules we've just gone through, we will see the differences in Series 2 which caused this downturn all the way through to the recent years. So, until Part 2, I'll catch you later.